Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And we'll run through the minutes from the previous meeting. In the future, before I get started on this, I know we talked about this in the last meeting, but I didn't want to do it this meeting because I didn't announce it ahead of time. We're going to we post everything online on our website. We're going to start printing out the meeting notes for each meeting, annual and semi, and posting it online as well as in the packet so that we can read it ahead of time so that we don't need to run through it all. Save us about 10 minutes or so of me reading all these notes. So bear with me. If I get too monotone, just yell at me, and we'll get started. So the semi-annual meeting was held on January 30th. Myself, Dan Hoffman, called the meeting to order, and quorum was present. And I read through the meeting notes. A motion was made by Patrick Schrader, and seconded by Hans Schmidt to accept, and the congregation accepted the meeting notes. The Treasury Report was presented by Brian Craze. Brian. An audit was conducted in the time period of January 1st of 2020 to December 31st. It consisted of a sample of cash receipts and compared to bank statements and weekly cash and sampled expenditures, and compared to property approved invoices and actual expenditures were reconciled to the general ledger and compared to the budget. The Treasury Report recorded were as submitted to the council and congregation were accurate and reflected the cash receipts and disbursements as record by the record of the treasurer. This was done by Tina Spears and Patrick Schrader. An online question was, we're in the black, and we said yes we are. We are under budget for the last year. New business was started. Bob Clank reported on the 2022 budget with the increase of 2.5% across employees budgeted. Also, $1,000 was added to the budget for veteran bill. Everything else stayed the same. The motion was accepted by Jim Draghi, and the second was by J.J. Moore. The 2022 budget was then accepted into council. Jim Draghi gave Partners in Food report. It has been in operation for 17 years now, and the information was provided in the packet to the congregation. The Endowment Report information was given to the congregation. The Sunbeams report was also in the packet, and as well as the Zion Nursery report. Terry Schrader gave a presentation on the playground. The committee is co-chaired by Larry Draghi and Terry Schrader. Other members include Delwyn, Patty Parker, Nancy, Larry Lewis, Josh Dye, Sandy Schmidt, and Pastor Jeff and Chris Long. Volunteers asked to remove the old equipment, remove a tree in the playground, and they needed help spreading rubber mulch, assist with the cleanup, and assist with unloading equipment. The AAA State of Play is the company that they are leaning towards, and they said that they had a 20-week gap between then and now on order and when they will receive the equipment. Photos of the equipment was shown. The cost of the breakdown was shown with 3 different options. The rubber mulch, $12,000. The plastic border was $3,000. New fencing was $750, and the playground mat was $600. And a dumpster rental of $500, giving a plus or minus of $78,000, but rounding up to $85,000 to cover any unforeseen costs or additions at that time. Estimated start was in June. Irma Donner had a question about how much Culver's and Rural King donations were. Culver's was $425 and Rural King was $250. Patrick Schroeder had a question on how many days it would take for installation. About 5 days, 2 to 4 at least on our part, or on their part, rain pending, as we all know. Jim Draghi had a question about the image of the playground model shown. Are these items that will be added? Yes, but not many of them. Approximately 6 of them. I lost my place. Probably 6 of them that had 2 pieces plus some swings. Basically, the same area will be used. Jolie Willett had a question if accepted volunteers to be helped, even if they're not the most skilled. Yes, all volunteers will be accepted. Irma Donner had a question about why the pin oaks need to come down. It's growth on it and eventually going to die, so it's best to take down while the old fence is down. J.J. Moore wanted to thank everyone that was involved with the project and the congregation for supporting the project. A motion to approve the budget was requested for the playground project and was made by J.J. Moore and seconded by Sean Henneisen. The congregation approved the request. New church council members installed on this date were Carl Barkett, Russell Rurr, and Rosie Bogart. The council members leaving were Laverne Deal, Terry Shorter, and Jake Gibson. A motion was made to adjourn the meeting by Jolie and seconded by myself. Does anyone have any questions, additions, or anything that we need to change on this report? And I will give a couple minutes for online since they're about 30 seconds behind. Do you know if they're caught up online? Okay. Okay. We're going to check online for just a second. It's fine. Yeah. Jeff, you have any show tunes you'd like to sing, or? I'm just waiting for Michelle to tell us that we have no questions, and then I'll look for a motion to accept the secretary's report. Okay, do I have a motion to accept the secretary's report? Larry? Okay, a second? Rosie? All those in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. Sean, you good? Okay. We're going to go with the Treasury Reports. Brian?
Good morning. Does anybody have any questions over the report that was in the packet? No questions? Yes. Okay.
Hello. All right. So I'm looking at the expense statement. I was just curious about the miscellaneous budget. It looks like it's way over budget. Just curious about maybe what got run through there during that period.
It is, and what we did is that came from the purchase of the directories for the church. That is why that is so high, because we paid for them. The church paid for them, and it just got labeled under the miscellaneous account. Because, yeah, it does show it that it's, 1,000% over budget, so. Any other questions?
Just curious about the non-budgeted items. Do all of those items run through council approval? I mean, if they're not in the current budget, do they discuss those at the council for approval?
According to Dan, they have to come to the congregation for approval, the non-budgeted ones.
Anything that's outside the scope of the budget has to be possession.
That's what they are. Down there at the very bottom.
They're down, that stuff, yeah.
Yeah. good on mine? Anybody else? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Next, we're going to move on to our cemetery report. Mr. Larry?
Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Thank you to all of you for staying around so we can conduct our business as well on behalf of the cemetery, as well as all of you online. So appreciate you staying around. Since Dan has already called the meeting to order, duly called, I will not call a cemetery meeting to order. We'll stand in order along with the congregation. So I'm going to move along. We do have a couple orders of business that I do need to conduct. We need to re-elect our treasurer's position this year. As you know, every year we have one of our 3 offices is up for re-election. So this year we'll re-elect our treasurer. We'll go through some old business, new business, and hopefully I'll sit down pretty quick. So with that, I'm going to ask Nancy Dugan, our recording secretary for the cemetery, to come forward and share with you the minutes from our last meeting.
August 22nd, 2021. The annual meeting of the Sign Cemetery Committee was held after the morning worship service with a semi-annual meeting of the church. The secretary's report was read, the treasurer's report was given. The audit report of the treasurer's books was done by Donna Hardick, stating that the records submitted reflected the accurate receipts and disbursements of the treasurer's report. A motion was made by Irma Donner and seconded by Nancy Lewis to accept the secretary and treasurer's report, and the motion carried. The election of secretary was held. Nancy stated she would serve again. Norman Schrader made a motion to close nominations and seconded by Aaron Commons. The motion carried. Larry stated that the committee will be looking into updating the rules and regulations for the cemetery and also come up with something to give to the new owners in the future for guidelines. Larry thanked everyone who had helped with the upkeep of the cemetery. A motion was made to accept the committee reports by Patrick Schrader and seconded by Larry Lewis, and the meeting was adjourned.
Thank you, Nancy. Any comments, questions concerning the minutes? Thanks again. I'll now ask Russ Rare to come forward with our cemetery financial.
If you'll look in your packet, there's 2 cemetery reports in there, mainly because I didn't get the first one right. So the one that's a handout that says final on the top is the one we'll go by. In regards to that, Donna Hardick actually audits my books, and when I went to her, she said, "Oh, Russ, you didn't include some of the June's transactions." And so I said, "Oh, yeah, I didn't." So we updated it, and so you have 2 copies here. I won't cover too much. You can see our beginning balance of $384,659, and then an ending balance of $346,69. That's mostly reflective to our downward trend in the brokerage account that we currently have right now. That account actually, we've been adding money to that account, and you can see we have 2 separate accounts. They're both Edward Jones accounts, but one of them is a money market and CD account, and the other is our brokerage account. The brokerage account, even though we're down right now, is well diversified and it's very conservative. It's not reflected on here, but the brokerage account, we just have a beginning balance and ending balance, but that account actually generated about $11,500 in capital gains and distributions that went back into that brokerage account for last year. So You can also see our CDs that we currently have down at the bottom and what they're earning. We have added in July, just a few weeks ago, another $40,000 in CDs, also earning at 3.35%. So, does anybody have any questions about the account? I'll be glad to entertain those.
I don't have a question, but I think you've done a very good job investing that money.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always a little bit tough to see it go down just a little bit, but I think in long term, this will be a good strategy for us. We will stay very conservative in that a big chunk will stay in CDs, but we wanted to go to some brokerage accounts only because CDs, for a little while, we were not getting anything. We were barely able to even pay expenses if we just kept it in CDs. So the brokerage account has given us some CDs. You can see now we've got CDs that are earning 3.5%, which is in our favor, and then the brokerage account will continue to allow the fund to grow and keep up, hopefully, with inflation as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell. Norman, thank you for that comment. When we all three, when Nancy and Russell and I decided to get together with Roger, I think it was in February of 2021, and decided to diversify a little bit and get into some maybe riskier, go on past CDs. Little did we know then that the markets were going to do what they're doing now. So it's the window, the picture in the last few months have not been good, but I think the overall body, if you look at the whole work, it was the right decision and the right thing to do. So appreciate your confidence and your support. Also, you probably noticed it on your report out, but thank you to those who contributed to the cemetery through memorial gifts. I think it was it $300, Russell, I think, on the report, mainly on the in memory of the Reinecke family, Donna Reinecke and Carl Schmidt. So thank you to everybody who contributed to the cemetery on those two behalves. This time, let's move to old business, and I don't really have any old business to discuss. As Nancy mentioned, we did, and we are still committed to kind of go through our rules and regulations and try to get a clearer understanding of get them maybe updated in today's environment. Unfortunately, COVID didn't allow us to get together very much. I mean, it wasn't really advisable for us to meet face-to-face, and it still is not probably, we still have thoughts whether we want to meet face-to-face, but in this case, we really did meet. We couldn't do it online. We had to meet face-to-face to be able to handle those projects and move forward. So still on our list as far as old business. Anything out in the congregation, anything that we may have missed or I may have missed that we discussed at old business that needs to be brought up? Oh, okay. Okay. Let me, while we're taking that 45 seconds, one of the items that I'm going to skip a little bit forward to new business, but I like to report out. We actually had 7 burials on our cemetery last year from our last business meeting. And I'd like to read those off. Oh, I'd like to read those off in order of burial if I could. Starts with David Schrader, September 12th, 2021. Carl Schmitz, October the 11th of 2021. Charlie Elkins, January the 27th of 2022. Ruby Schrader, March the 26th of 2022. Dennis Garness, May the 27th of 2022. Donna Reinecke, June the 10th of 2022. And Barbara Brandt Davidson on July 29th of 2022. So that's a list of members and non-members that were buried on our cemetery. We okay? Thank you. Let's move real quickly then to new business. The first and most important item, I guess, that I have for new business is the reelection of our treasurer's position for the Cemetery Association. We all serve 3-year terms, and this particular year, our treasurer's term comes up. We've talked to Russell. Russell has graciously offered to accept, if nominated, the treasurer's position as we move forward. And Russell has the full support of our committee. Russell's done a great job, as Norman, as you alluded to. You know, the way we ladder, the way we structure our CDs, I think Russell's done a good job communicating with us as well as overseeing the Office of Treasury. So at this time, I would like to open the floor up. Again, I will need nominations, and I'll accept nominations for the treasurer's position for the next 3 years. Terry? Thank you for that. We have one nomination for Russell Ray. Are there other nominations from the floor? Thank you, Norman, and I'll just hold that nomination because we have to wait for the online input if we have it, but I appreciate that. Or that motion, I'm sorry, not nomination. We have no other nominations online or on the floor, so Norman, I will accept your nomination. Is there a second, please? JJ? JJ Moore, second. Nance, have you got that? Okay. With that, I will ask for a simple show of hands. All those in favor, Russell Rayer, Treasurer, please raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Thanks, Russell. Congratulations. Appreciate you staying with us. The next item that I had for new business, really I don't have a whole lot. I discussed the cemetery barrels. That was part of my new business. One of the things that we've talked about, two things. Paving was one of the things that we kind of teed up at our last congregational meeting when we may be doing some additional asphalt paving on the roadways. And the response basically that I got back was maybe let's hold up on that for a while. There wasn't a lot of interest in maybe doing something like that this time. One of the other items that our committee's talked a little bit about, and these hedges that border between the Sunday School Hall and our cemetery have been there forever. There's a lot of sentimental value, but at some point we replace them every year. There's some expense involved with keeping them trimmed up. They look great when they're trimmed, but it doesn't take long for them to grow out again. So we have discussed the option of putting a small fence if we would replace, if we get to the point where we can't keep replacing that hedge, should we look at maybe replacing that with a small fence, a decorative fence with some landscaping that wouldn't have that expense. Nothing we've decided on, but at this point I would love to hear input from the congregation. I know there's a lot of sentimental value with those hedges, back from the Brandt girls that used to trim them for the church. A lot of different, we've been lucky. A lot of good people have trimmed them over the years. It seemed like a constant battle to keep weeds out and to keep replacing them, and then you have a different growth height because you have to replace hedges. But would appreciate you guys' input over the year, and we'll kind of take that under consideration. So, anything new business-wise in the congregation that needs to be brought before our committee at this time? And we'll wait. While we're doing that, I'll wrap my portion up, and I've got a few thank yous. I mean, it's Russell and Nancy and I, but we get a great deal of help from the congregation, helping with the cemetery. Whether it's Tom, you've hauled some rock. John Moy, you've been great helping us with our little mold dilemma out on the cemetery grounds. Moles have been a problem this year. They're a huge problem in my home, in my yard, but they've been a big problem in our cemetery too. So appreciate your help there. Stacy and Gary, I don't know if you're here, helped with hedge trimming. Roger and Darlene Radel have taken that responsibility over now, so appreciate that. Darlene, I think you were back in the back. Butch, if you're listening, I don't think you were here today, but Butch Shores does a lot brings his tractor up and grades the rock driveway occasionally. Our caretaker, Lee Coleman, takes care of the mowing. Been a particular challenge this year with mowing. You know, when it was supposed to be raining, it was a drought almost here. And now that we're supposed to have a drought and the grass is supposed to quit mowing, we're getting rain every day just about. So it's tough when you have those kind of things and trying to keep things trim, but Lee's done a nice job for us. So I want to thank him if he's listening or available. Good? Any other questions, comments? Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Larry. Now we're going to the endowment report. Dan? Other Dan?
Good morning. I'm happy to announce that the Endowment Fund Committee is in its 32nd year of operation, starting the end of July 2022. The Endowment Fund's fiscal year is July 1st, 2021 through June 30th of 2022. The fund had 8 associations that it was able to help fund with a total disbursement of $28,650 for the year. And you will see on that sheet where it's broke down for each association. There was 1 vacancy on the committee created this past year. Gail Ashley's term expired and her position was filled by Carol Embry. We want to thank Gail for her work and time on the committee and welcome Carol to the committee, as well as thank Bob Klink for serving as our council representative. Members for the current year are Kathy Schrader, Tina Spears, Carol Embry, Phil Wirtz, and myself, Dan Cook. 2 of our current members will have their terms expire in June 2023. Kathy Schrader will have her 2nd term to end, and Dan Cook, myself, will have my 1st term to end. Any questions before I get into the treasurer's report? We're good? Okay. And now the treasurer's report for endowment. Tina Spears is our treasurer, but is out of town this weekend, so I will attempt to fill in for her. This is for July 1, 2021 through June 30th of 2022. You will see on the sheet, we had a total income for the year of $31,916.57. Our total of our expenses was the $5,224.32 as well, then, which our net income for the year was $26,692.25. But within that, we had total distributions of $28,650. And as of the end of June 30th, 2022, we did not have any new requests, but some have came in since we started our new year. Any questions on the treasurer's report? That's fine. Good, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. And to our last order of business, we actually do have something that we need to discuss and vote on today, and it's due to property. Russ, do you want to come up and speak to the Tuck Point repair project?
So on the very last page of your handout, you'll see a quote from N.M. Bungie Company. We're considering to have the church tuck pointed. I'm not sure if we've ever really had the church tuck pointed itself, but if you look on the outside of the church, especially on the north side, you'll see a fair amount of mortar that has come loose in certain places. We've got some algae growing. So we asked them to come out, and they came out in April, and what you see in your handout is that reflective. To be honest with you, I asked them to give us a quote on each side of the building because we were really anticipating the price to be quite expensive. But when they came back and you see each of the details of what they plan to do for each side of the building, the overall amount was actually much less than we anticipated it to be. So in general, what will happen is they will like sandblast, clean everything up, tuck point, mortar, and then also do a sealing at the end for each of the sides. We have a chimney that is on the back side that if you look up there, it's quite a bit of mortar is out of it. It does look like that chimney has either been added on over the years. The brick doesn't quite match the original brick. We will evaluate that, whether we just take that chimney off since we really don't have a need for a chimney anymore. Our gas furnace probably vents up through there. But we will decide at that point, if we choose to do this, that we will either take the chimney off and have it look original again, or leave it and they will repair the chimney just like they tuck point everything else. One of the things they will do is there's limestone capping both on the front and the back. They will get cleaned up and sealed again also, just to make sure that's all secure and that there isn't any water that starts to leak in there over a period of time. So you can see the details, exactly what they would plan to do for each of the four. So this is up for your consideration, and I'll let you guys take it from there. Do I have any questions about the quote itself or the job? Yes, JJ.
Like the sealant that they're going to use on the north wall is different from the rest of the walls? Is that because of the algae? Is it a different type, or it looks like they're not consistent with the sealant that they're going to use on all four walls, I guess.
I guess I didn't even pick up on that. It might be, just because I do know he commented we've got a lot of algae growth there, so that may have a little bit of inhibitor to it. Bob, do you want to have any information?
The difference in the sealers, they're sealing the concrete wash that's on the brick where you have the ledge, and there's a mortar wash on there or cement wash, and they're going to seal that with something other than what they're going to seal the brick with.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Thank you. As far as the job goes, if we choose to do this, timing, we had actually asked them, they gave us the quote here in April, and they actually called me like a week and a half ago and said, hey, we're ready to start your job. And I said, wait. I said, we haven't voted on this yet. So it does feel like they could get to us fairly quickly. They have taken another job in response to me asking them to delay starting on our job. But I don't know exactly how quick they will come back. If they do the job, it would take about 3.5 weeks is what they estimated to do all 4 sides. They will bring extra lift equipment out to do that. So we may be a little bit restricted in regards to traffic patterns and stuff around the back, depending on, how the lifts, and they're able to store them during the evenings. They actually brought one lift out, and it's down by the playground. It has their name on it. That was when they told me they were coming out, and I told them, yeah, they had to wait a little bit. But it's about a 3.5 week, maybe a month project to get all 4 sides completed. Any other questions about the job itself? Jim? Yes, all 4 of them basically would be about that 12,790 quote altogether, yeah. Less the little bit of extra expense associated with the chimney, depending on how that goes, or whether they ask to remove them or repairs. Yeah, so that's a total expense. Yes, Chris?
Church, because they did do the Sunday school hall, right?
Yeah, it's solely our church sanctuary, the old sanctuary. Yeah, our Sunday school hall should be in good shape based on that work that was done prior to that. Yes, Kay? Yes. Oh. Yeah, they're really well known. They've been established for many years. They actually did part of our tuck point here on the Sunday school hall a while back. Does anybody else have any comment about the Bungie Company? There's not too many companies in Evansville that actually do that, but they're, good question, they are very reputable in regards to that, so. Terry?
I think on the price, what you got to realize, the front of the church, of the Sunday school hall was actually, the joints were ground out, and they were tuck pointing all the joints. On this, they're doing repairs that are needed. But the difference is they're not actually being ground out, so it's not as labor intensive. So that's why our price is less.
And I'm going to ask him to evaluate like the condition of the church and the mortar. He said we're actually in pretty good shape, but he said we do have some spots that really need some attention. And you can tell if you actually look, we've got some mortar actually missing in a few places. And I do feel like it's probably a good time just to get that done because it's been a long time since we've asked some attention to the outside of the church.
So,
yes.
Online, Hans said as soon as you get done talking, he approves. But there was another question.
Okay.
Wanting to know about another quote, and I think you covered that there's not too many companies around that do that. So I think you covered that, but someone asked if there was another quote online.
Yeah, no, we did not get a secondary quote. We've just worked with the Bungie Company. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Russ. So with that, we need to have someone make a motion or one more question, sorry. They are going to bring it to the council. They're going to bring it to Russ, and then we'll discuss it as a council. Yeah, the company's going to talk with us on the condition, what it would be worth. We think it's kind of worth to take it down since it's not utilized, but we need to know all the options that we have and the costs around it. So it'll be decided with it during the job. Yeah, that's what we're hoping.
So Han says he makes the motion.
Okay, is there any other questions? We can do that. So what JJ just said is he wants to amend the motion to add the $750 to, if we do remove the chimney to that price.
Check the math, I think the project cost includes that.
I don't have it in front, I'd have to look in the thing real quick.
Adding them all up and deducted the amount for paving on the mobilization. Comes up pretty close to that, almost exactly that.
Okay, so that is actually in the current, that's in the current numbers. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna go back to Hans made the motion. Yeah, one more question. There is an endowment request that's been, it's based on congregational approval that will pay for this.
And just to confirm for you, that $12,790 does include the cost of taking the chimney.
Correct, yes. I want to make sure online has anything else, Sean. Okay, so we have a motion from Hans, and JJ has seconded that. So I'm going to go with Larry's thing. All those in favor, please raise their right hand. All right, motion passes. Do we have any other new business that anyone would like to cover today before we close? I always like. Let's give online a second, but I will take that. I'm still talking online. Okay, do I get a second? JJ second? For the endowment request? Stephanie did, sorry. They didn't know, I didn't say your name out. Okay, all those in favor? Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your weekend.